So thanks guys for coming. What we're going to do is we're going to have Ron on here talking about Mastermind button pages. Um, so if you can type in the chat, go ahead and just let us know if you're a newbie to this or you've been playing around with a GT, PVC, LT for a while. This will apply to all of the different Mastermind models. So that includes all the GTs, the LTs, PVC-10, PVC-6X. We are at home today recording this, and we don't have the Mastermind GT that we wanted to have here so that we could show you some things, but we're going to see what we can do without that. So if you've got any questions, feel free to put it in the chat, and I'm going to turn this over to Ron.
Button pages. As Sherry said, this is a feature that's in all the Mastermind series, beyond the past the original Mastermind that we had years ago. And the whole idea is that these products have anywhere from 7 to 22 buttons, and like any other MIDI controller, they have various functions. But with ours, you can set up different pages where the buttons do different things. This is probably the most obvious in the PVC products, because you specifically will have loops and you'll have presets and banks as your first button page, and you can use the buttons to select those, and then you'll press a button, and then the functionality will switch, where instead of your buttons selecting presets and banks, they'll now select turning loops on and off, or buffers, whatever. And so it's basically assigning whole new sets of features to the same buttons. Each product can have up to 16 button pages globally, and you can switch between them at any time. Typically you would assign a button to switch from one page to the other. You can also set it up so that when you select a preset, a button page is selected automatically for you. This is the default on the Mastermind GT, but it's not the default on the smaller products, but it can be enabled. So I guess what we should probably do is just dive in with an example.
Before you do that, just check. Since you are the host, there might be more people to admit, and I don't know why it's doing this. Technical. Yeah, just click on participants at the bottom since you are.
I don't have any window. Oh, there we go.
Oh, okay. All right, I think I'm good. I think I can do that. Go ahead and dive in.
Okay. Right. Okay, so we're going to start with, we'll be doing this saying that we have a Mastermind GT 16, but all this whole thing is applicable to any of the products. It's just, it's a bit easier to see button pages on a GT because of how that you can the buttons are you can label them because of the LCDs over every one. So if we look here in the editor on the buttons tab, you can see the first button page, and basically this is just the default setup. This is intended to work with like a rack gizmo or an effect gizmo, one of our rack switchers, but we can switch that to anything. And I guess what we'll do, use a common example here, is quickly set up this product to control a fractal audio Axe 3. And we'll go to buttons here, and the shortcut here is if we right click, turn off the tooltips because that gets in the way. Basically we can say assign default buttons Axe 3, and what it does is set up a sort of a default configuration specifically for controlling an Axe 3. And so we have our presets, our banks, and direct access to some of the common effects like the drives and the delays on the Axe effects. So this is great. This gets you pretty far all by itself. But what we could do is say, well, on certain presets, I need different effects. And so what we'll do is we'll switch over to button page 2 here, and then we can copy from page 1 and right now we just have an exact copy of the other button page, which doesn't do us an awful lot of good. But what we can do now is reassign these and say, well, you know, in this one, I'm not using delay 2. I really need instead, right click, we'll assign CC, Max Effects, and then we will add, say, like, we'll change this one to Reverb 1, for example, and we'll change Drive 2 to, there we go. And we'll take this one and assign it to, let's say, Chorus 1. And so you can customize it, and each one of these pages can have different, you know, effects. And we can go way beyond this. I mean, this is just a real basic but common example, but I mean, we can change any of these buttons and, you know, have a completely different layout. We could, you know, set up an additional page where it has looper control, for example, and record, play, and we can just go down the list here and, you know, set up looper buttons. And anyway, we'll just stop it at this, but you can fill them all out. Anyway, so we've just created 3 separate button pages, and what we can do here is, well, there's a couple ways to get at them. Right now, there's just a page button here in the upper right, and if we press this, it'll switch. Press it once, it'll switch to page 2. Press it once, it'll switch to page 3. This reminds me, we need to go to global here, and there is a setting that's max button page. We are now using 3 pages, so we want to set that to 3. So now, hold on, I've got to, there we go. It's blocking my view. So now when we go to, so if we were on our GT and we were hitting page, now it would go, you know, toggle between pages 1, 2, and 3. That's great. Especially on the GT, one thing that could be really useful is the automatic selection of pages. And so on each, we're in the presets tab here, on each preset, you'll see there is a setting that says show page. And by default, these are all set to page 1. But what we can do is, let's say in page 3, preset 3, we want to use the looper, you know, and so what we can have it do is automatically switch to page 3 when this preset is selected. And so by doing show page, you can have automatic page selection as you select presets. So now, let's see, I guess.
Should we ask and see if there's any questions?
I guess, yeah, before we go further, I should probably see about any questions you might have so far.
Does everything seem good so far? And if there's any quality issues with noise or anything, let us know. We're good at other technology. Zoom, we're learning.
Yeah.
So far, this is excellent. Thanks. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
All right. So, and another thing I should mention here, this whole show page thing I was just showing you is, as I think I had mentioned earlier, it's enabled by default on the GT series, but not on the PVCs and LTs. If you do want it to do this, where it automatically selects a button page as you select presets, the setting you're looking for is this one here in globals, that's auto page select. When that's turned on, it will pay attention to this show page parameter. If it's turned off, it's going to just ignore it and just stay on the page that you were last on. So that's up to you whether you want that feature to work or not. So this gives you access to 16 different button pages, and you know, for a lot of people that's enough. You may just need a few alternate button configurations, but now some people want to go, you know, need to go way further than that, and so somewhere along the line we created local button pages, and the idea with that is that you can have a completely different button page for every preset, and, you know, going well beyond the 16 button limit. And so this has been a real common question, and so we can show you this. So let's say preset 10, we want to control something completely different, and so we'll go in and preset 10. The thing that's important here is this local page checkbox. if it's not checked, this preset does not have a local page. If it's checked, it does have a local page. That's the bottom line. What I do here, to actually edit that local page, you click this down here where it says edit local buttons. You'll see that it checks this local page setting up here. And now we have basically a blank-ish page. And if we do our editing here in the presets tab, any changes we make to this page will only apply to preset 10. So we could go in and continuing with our axe effects here, we're going to start using some more oddball effects. We're going to go to graphic EQ, and we're going to go down and, formant, and we'll just, pick whatever oddball ones want here. And so this is all, again, totally, up to you. And so now, we're editing just preset 10's local page. This doesn't affect anything else. So if we go to preset 1, okay, I have to go over here, and there's a setting here which selects which button page you're viewing currently. If you set it to preset specified, that means that whatever number is up here is what's being displayed down here as you select presets. So with this set, it more closely mirrors what the actual GT is doing. So anyway, so still, page 1, this one was page 3, as we set, and then we go to preset 10, you'll see local page is on, we're showing the page, the local page, and we have these special settings. And, that's all a local page is a button that can be, or as a page that can be done per preset. And so if we go into preset 11 and start editing local buttons, it can have its own local page. And so we can start assigning more things to it. So, whatever you want it to be. And of course, you can do all the settings that you need. I'm just doing the sort of the very quick, assign CC thing that I was doing. But you can actually go in and double click these and edit them fully. And you can change the button color. We can make the button green and have it yellow when it turns on, and and you can rename the buttons and all of that. Whatever. Oops. Spelling not my strong suit. So everything that you can do on a global button page, you can do in the local page. It's just that you're doing your editing in the presets tab and not in the buttons tab. And so, again, we're just looking at these, and it'll just show you that these local pages show up, as requested. And another thing to note, when you're looking at the pages, when there is a local button page on a preset, it takes the place of page 16. So on a preset where there's a local page, you can't access global page 16. So you still have 1 through 15, and those are the ones that are the same for every preset. And then 16 becomes our local page. And this, okay, I guess, are there any questions now?
Yeah, let's just wait a second. I think Sharpley said that the first item makes the webinar worth it for me. I'm sure there's more to come. Thanks. We'll be buying a Mastermind GT. So I wanted to let you know, we do have a sale on the GTs right now. Actually, we also have a sale on the PVC 10s, but I believe we're out. So it'll be a few weeks before you receive it. We also have a sale on the LT. But for the GTs, we can only get the LCDs from China. We've got a huge 25% tariff right now, and it's supposedly going up to 30%. So in October, it looks like we won't have quite a great sale anymore, and we'll be raising the price of the GT. So if you're interested in getting one, this is a good time. Okay, we've got a message. Can you copy a global button page into a local page?
Yes. So what we could do, let's go to, say, preset 20, edit local buttons, and then right click down here, and then you can do copy from page. and then page 1, or we'll even copy page 3, the looper controls, and ask for confirmation, and then boom, you've got it copied. And so in that right-click menu, make sure Edit Local Buttons is on. In that right-click menu, you can copy from a page, or you can copy to a page, and then you can even copy another local page. You can say copy page from preset, and we want to copy the one we did for page 10, or preset 10, excuse me, and it'll copy that from preset 10. So it's all in that right-click menu there.
Okay. So David Lee, does that answer the question? Yeah. Okay. Good.
Cool.
Now, we're not so sure about these webinars as far as if they're helping a lot. Please email me or give us feedback here, because I've been telling Ron for a while. I think we should be doing them kind of often, like maybe once a week, and each one a different topic. So if this is something that you feel like you need and is helpful, we could even bring other people on that might be even better at explaining than Ron is. Ron is so deep into it as an engineer that sometimes he worries that he might be not seeing it the way you do.
Well, there are a lot of people that have a lot more real world experience than I do. I my usage of this is pretty much, in the lab, and I don't get out much. So we got some really great power users that have have really come up with some clever configurations and ways to use it. And so for that sort of thing, others would be probably better than me.
I don't know if they could hear me when I was talking.
Oh, okay.
Because I have my sound off.
Right. Well, you are. I don't know.
Okay. Hopefully you can hear. Can you hear Sherry when she's talking? I don't know.
As she refers to herself in third person. She should be able to still pick it up, I would think. Yes, maybe.
Yes, we can hear. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So I guess next topic that.
Okay. Yeah, I guess that I should mention global buttons. So you've noticed that every time I create or edit one of these pages, be they Zoom keeps getting in my way here. Hold on. It blocks the tab bar across the editor every time I move up there. It's fun. Anyway, so you notice that these bank and preset buttons are and all these buttons around the perimeter on the bottom and right side keep showing up on every page, and that's because they're global buttons. And so a global button is defined once in a position, and then it just appears on every page always. And so maybe you want it, maybe you don't, but it's easy to fix. What we can do, for example, is we can go and we'll take this IA mode button, which we're currently not using anyway. You can double click it. And if you look up here in the settings, there's a global checkbox. And so it's turned on, and that's why it keeps showing up everywhere. And so we've just turned it off. And so now if we go to page 2, it's now blank because we've never defined it to anything. And so now we can go to page 2 and we can assign it to something else, and we can put a parametric EQ in there. Anyway, so that's you're not forced to have these bank and preset buttons. We could go in and we could edit each one of these and turn off the global flag, and then they can be changed from preset to preset. One thing that currently is the case, some people have asked me to change it. We may in the future, but right now, once a button is set to global, there's just no way to override it, being on a global page or a local page. If it's global, it's always global. Some people said, well, is there any way to override that, just for example, for, one button page or something? Currently the answer is no. So if you want, if you want that button to ever change, you have to turn off global. And then you just have to define it yourself or copy it to all of your button pages, and then you can have that flexibility of changing it from page to page. Any other questions?
Give everybody a moment. There's a few people that won't be able to respond. I could also unmute a few people too, unless you've got some other things that you want to talk about.
Well, Yeah, we could. I mean, we could go into the IA mode thing. If
Maybe
we,
I know that one of the questions, I think it came from Jeff, was on the IA mode, and you were telling me the background of that. Maybe that would help people
yeah,
understand why and what it does.
yeah, it's a tough one. It's a bit of a tough one, but I guess I'll try to.
Oh, you got yes AI
What was
or
that?
IA? Yes, Jeff says yes IA.
All right, yeah. Okay. All right. Well, so it is related to this topic. It's kind of a, I don't know. It's kind of, I don't know. It's related, but sort of in sort of a, I don't know. Not sure, but it's similar, but it's kind of going in a different direction. Basically, when the GT, when we first did the GT, there were button pages and there was IA mode, and they were both kind of simple, limited functionality features, and they kind of sort of coexisted. And then as time went on, button pages became more and more powerful as I thought of more things to do with it. And so IA mode's kind of one of those things I wish I hadn't done in the first place, but it's there and some people use it, so I keep it around. So IA mode is something that came from earlier MIDI controllers that is typically called IA reveal or something like that. And so the idea is when you turn on IA mode, any button that isn't already IA type, and by IA I mean instant access, and those are these buttons here, the blue ones typically, and those are ones that have the most flexibility. They have the ability to send multiple MIDI messages, and in PVCs it can control the audio loops, and they kind of are the I don't know, sort of the workhorse buttons that can do a whole bunch of things. You can they're a lot more configurable. So what IA mode is it converts, when you press it, it converts all the buttons that are not IA buttons into IA buttons. And so if you look, for example, at these preset buttons, we open it up and you see two things here. You see preset because it is a preset button, but you also see scene 1 here. And even a button that's not an IA button, still has IA settings. Like every button uses these general settings here, which is the button mode and the type and global. Every button has a normal mode setting as well to tell you the off and the on color. But everything else on the screen only applies to IA buttons. And so, why do we have these for a preset button that presumably doesn't do anything other than select presets? So that's where all this comes in. We have it programmed to select scene 1 on the Axe-Fx, and so you can see it's sending this CC message to the Axe-Fx3, and we have this alternate title here and this alternate color. And so that's what IA mode does is you can well, on the actual GT or LT or PVC, you would press an IA mode button. In the editor, I have this checkbox here, and as soon as I hit it, boom, all of a sudden these all change to something else. And so now we have scene 1 through scene 6 here. And so the idea of this was, where this whole thing came from. And again, this was an idea I borrowed from earlier controllers. The idea was that you use the normal mode to navigate to the preset that you want. And this especially applies to things like Axe-Fx's, Kemper Profiler, and these really powerful processors where one preset, you can do an awful lot with one preset. Like each preset is like an entire pedal board. And so you can kind of live in one preset for an extended period of time, or maybe your entire performance. And so you use the bank and preset buttons to select a preset, and then you're going to be there for a while. So you can hit IA mode, and now you can, instead of having all these other buttons, you can have, instead of needing to select presets, you can reuse those buttons, in this case, to select scenes, or these can be remapped to control more effects and kind of make it, fully a virtual pedal board. And so it basically just gets rid of the buttons that you may not be needing. And so it kind of is, button pages still work, and they still, this is just kind of another layer on top of the button pages where I kind of envision it, and I've always wanted to do some kind of drawing or PowerPoint or something, kind of trying to show this visually. But basically, you can think of there are 16 pages that you can select between, and then on each page there's like an overlay of these buttons sort of on top of it that normally cover up the IA buttons. And then when you select IA mode, it's uncovering those and using these additional IA settings that are always there but are not seen unless you select IA mode. So it's a feature that's there. Some people find it useful. I've often considered getting rid of it because it does confuse people, but I think there are just as many people who'd be pretty upset if it disappeared because they do use it. So it's something you could completely ignore, get rid of the IA mode button, and just use button pages, and you'll be fine. It's there if you want it.
Okay, we have 2 comments. Rick Park said, like the MFC 101 reveal function. Can't believe I haven't added this to my setup.
Yeah, it's MFC definitely had that, and I think even some of the Rocktron Bradshaw stuff, like some of the really early advanced MIDI controllers had stuff like that. So so that's just another way to make use of it. Again, like I said, it's in these where you want to select a preset and then stay in a preset for a while. It gives you some more options to use your buttons.
Okay, so Mike said that IA had been confusing. However, this is very helpful. Can you see the comment from Jeff? Because I'm about to cough since I've got this cold.
Let me see here. Let's see. I gotta go find it.
Okay, here it is.
Oh, there it is.
Since my main page is just presets and loops, it seems like I'm already in IA mode. When I press IA mode, I'm scared and I just go back to the main page. LOL.
Well, like I said, not everyone needs it, and you can, like I said, it's if you don't need it, you can certainly just get rid of the IA mode button and change it to something else. Because everything, well, as long as you're not using all your button pages, you can, you can get everything you need done with button pages. It's just, again, the 2 features, button pages and IA mode, were pretty equivalent when the GT first came out. And then, like I said, I found all these cool ways to extend button pages with local pages and all this stuff. And so IA mode just kind of became, there's nowhere else for it to go. It does what it does. And like I said, it sticks around because, there are some people that find it useful. But if you don't like it, don't use it, and pages are great.
All right, so we're getting to the end of the 30 minutes. If you really liked this, please send me an email and let us know, because we're going to be using this recording. And if it's useful, we can do it every week or every month and do a different topic. But we're just hoping that this helps to maybe reduce some of the confusion and make it easier.
Yeah, I know this is like a really deep product, and it's sometimes hard to explain all this stuff. So maybe this is a good way to get certainly a good way to answer your questions.
Rick has one more thing.
Okay.
Ron, are the button pages and IA mode available on every page?
Yes. Every page is equivalent. IA mode works on every page. It's all very sort of universal, I guess. Every page can have an IA mode. Every page, It's with buttons, we tried to make it so that every button can do the same thing. It has the same amount of choices, and we didn't want to have any limitations of this can't do that or whatever. So it's all the products, all the buttons, all the pages, they all work the same.
All right. Well, thank you guys. There's so many of you. I wish I could have unmuted you to ask if you had any other questions, but we're running out of time. So we're going to close this off, and we really appreciate it. We have the best customers in the world. So thank you guys so much for supporting us.
Certainly, email us if you have ideas for other topics, or if you still have more questions after this, and we'll either do a follow-up or do new topics and things like that. And we'll do our best to answer them.